Good afternoon, everybody. So today I'm going to go over vitamin A and all the roles that it plays in the body, and then also sources that you can get it from for your body, intake sources. I've gone over all of the major macronutrients, which will be your carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can go check it out on my live section. But today, and then from today on, we're going to be doing all the different vitamins, all the different minerals, so you can know what your intake should be and what you should be doing. Okay, so, hey, what's up, guys? So, vitamin A does multiple things in the body, but born without vitamin A. Because vitamin A is required to form the embryo. So you would have to have vitamin A to be born. So that just goes to show you the power of each vitamin and mineral. It's unbelievable, all the different roles it plays, and these are the roles that we're aware of, to be honest with you. Vitamin A can also affect your vision, especially in like low light scenarios. So if at night you're having like night blindness when you're driving, vitamin A deficiency could be a cause of that. You want to be careful. Vitamin A, it's fat soluble. A, D, E, and K are all fat soluble vitamins, so they can become toxic in high levels. So you always want to, watch your levels. If you're feeling off, it could be one way or another deficient or too much. So it's just something to think about. But if you're having any vision problems, try to increase your vitamin A intake. That could very well be a contributing factor. Then it also is involved in cell growth and cell replication. So for you to be able to heal from a wound or in a developing baby, it's very important for cell growth. So we make new cells every day, so it is essential in that aspect. Then it also has some immune functions. It helps your immune system. It's almost like a booster for your immune system, so it is important to maintain a good vitamin A level for your immune system. And then it's also important for reproduction in both male and female. It's not just women. It could affect men as well in the reproductive area. So, like I said, another reason just to make sure you're getting enough vitamin A. And then it has antioxidant properties, which means it can be beneficial to roles in the body and help detoxify. So that is very important. It's good for your skin and your hair. Retinoids and retinol. I know everyone's heard of the retinol cream. It's a hot thing on the market. It can be applied topically through like face creams to help reduce wrinkles. Sometimes it's used for acne. And a sign of vitamin A deficiency is dry skin. So if you are having dry skin or eczema issues, it could be related to your vitamin A intake. And if you guys have any questions along the way, just let me know, because I'm happy. Yes, definitely. Codfish liver oil is very good for the body. Fish oils in general, it keeps your joints lubricated. You always want to take care of your joints because it's a very hard place to do a surgery. Any place that has motion, like a joint, it's something that you want to take care of and try to be preventative for sure. Absolutely, I agree with that. It's also a factor in bone health. So I know it's not important until it is important when you lose your bone health, but that's something we want to maintain our bodies. It's just like a vehicle. You want to maintain your vehicle as best you can because it'll increase the longevity of it. It's the same thing with your body. You want to take care of it because a lot of people don't make it an issue until it's a real issue. But what we want to do is we want to prevent the issues from even starting. So the best way is through good nutrition. There's so many benefits to good nutrition that we wouldn't, it really could reduce, I would say, 50% of the medical issues that we do have if we would focus on nutrition as a contributing factor and adjust what we need to adjust instead of taking a man-made pill and putting it in our bodies. If you watched any of my videos, you know how I feel about man-made products. We want to go natural if possible, and the doctors just do not utilize nutrition enough in the medical field. I went to school for dietetics, so I do know a good bit about nutrition, and I just think it's so important. You know, we're probably the most undervalued healthcare professional. Hey everybody. But we probably have the best knowledge, you know. Maybe they didn't want to use this for a reason because it keeps them in business to keep us unhealthy, unfortunately. But okay, so then we're going to talk about our sources for vitamin A as well. There's animal sources, which that has the retinol. So if you're looking for improved skin, then going the animal route for vitamin A would be your preferred route. It could be found in liver, so cod liver oil, fish, eggs, and dairy. So it's different forms of vitamin A that you're getting from an animal source versus the plant source. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you are a vegan or a vegetarian, make sure that you're getting all of your nutrients that you need. A lot of people are nutrient deficient that do go that route. So if you do choose that route, you're just gonna have to do your due diligence and make sure your body's getting the nourishment that it needs. There's so many things that we just think, oh, I just don't feel good because, but it could be because of your diet, definitely. Let's see, the plant-based sources are gonna be dark leafy greens, orange veggies like carrots, squash. I know they have orange bell peppers, and then like yellowy orange veggies. That'll have a good source of retinol, which will be vitamin A. And then legumes, which the one that they recommended would be black-eyed peas. That's one of my favorite. A legume is going to be like a pea-like or bean intake, and then some of the herbs and spices that we take in have it as well. Then you'll see it in the fortified stuff, like our milk will have vitamin A, and then some of the fortified cereals, which if you eat cereal, great, but I think the cons weigh out the pros in the calorie department, the empty calories, the sugar, but then it is fortified, so it does have some good things in it, but we'd like to keep it as clean as possible. So cereal's not really recommended on my end unless it's something that, you know, you portion control and you do in moderation. You always want to, you know, try to drink some milk. Most people are usually all or nothing, but everything in moderation. That's really the most important thing. Let's see. Then other things that it does in the body is it optimizes to optimize the absorption of vitamin A, there's things that you can do. And that is to include a healthy fat along with the vitamin A, because vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin. So the more fat that you have, the more that you can absorb it. So I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, you know, 2 + 2 = 4. Let's see, cooking some vegetables. I know vegetables are usually best in their raw state for nutrition, but when it comes to vitamin A, cooking some of the veggies like carrots can increase your bioavailability. What it does is it probably loosens up the particles where you can absorb it better. I know, like when you take a multivitamin, which is always recommended, a multivitamin is not gonna hurt anything. Everyone's deficient in some category, even with a good diet. So you definitely want to avoid excessive intake. That's with anything, but especially vitamin A, D, E, and K, because they're fat soluble and can be toxic in large amounts. So you always want to watch your intake. If you're feeling off, listen to your body and always readjust accordingly. Then it also says that if you're a smoker, vitamin A can increase your chances of lung cancer. Which I don't know the biological process behind that, but for them to say it, it must be correct. I mean, you can go and do your research on it, but if you are a smoker, that is just something to consider, that vitamin A can actually not be beneficial in that aspect. If you do have lung damage that would eventually cause cancer, it could amplify that. So it's just something to, you know, consider. You always want to know everything, good or bad, the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, that's how I am. I just want to know the information and be able to do with it what I'd like. So that's really what I'm trying to do with this, is to give you guys information. You guys can hold on to what you do like. Don't, you know, use what you don't. I'm just wanting to give you guys the information, because knowledge is power, and the more you know, the more you can try to control things and move things in the right direction. So then if you have like a deficiency in vitamin A, like we were talking about earlier, it can affect your vision, especially in low light. So if your vision is not great in low light, just consider maybe increasing your vitamin A intake through nutrition, not through supplements. You don't want to supplement vitamin A because of the toxicity factor that could potentially come in. So just try to, you know, when you go into the produce section, be like, okay, orange and yellow are high in vitamin A. Let me try to do that. We love like bananas in our house, so we're doing okay in that department. All the fruits we get are always yellow. We love pineapple too. But just a thing that I learned in school that I thought was super helpful. But if you the more color dense that the food is, the more nutritious it is. So like iceberg lettuce would be one of the least nutritious vegetables, but look at the color, it's very light in color. And then when you get to a carrot, will be very nutrient dense because it's very rich in color. So you can kind of relate that when you are in the produce section, like, okay, the more pigment, the better. The more variety of the pigments, the better. Like I said, in my head, when I go buy fruit, we like bananas and we like pineapple, but my head's like, wait, no, we need a different color because we need different nutrients. So it's just, you know, a rule of thumb, something to know when you are in the produce aisle. And then it also affects your skin. So if you're having dryness or like scaliness of the skin, that could be affected by vitamin A. If you have eczema, look into it because eczema can be caused by vitamin A deficiency. Then it could cause, if you are deficient in it, delayed growth and development in a child, and then it could cause infertility in women and also hair loss. So if you're struggling with hair loss or something like that, it could be related to your vitamin A intake. The immune system, it can decrease your immunity if you're deficient in it. It can cause more infections, more respiratory tract infections specifically, and then delayed wound healing. So you always want to do what's best for your body. Give it the most nourishment that you can. Like I said, it's just like a vehicle. The more that, and not necessarily, everyone's different. It depends on your biology naturally, but you want to try to enhance your biology as much as possible. Some people are just more sickly than others. That's, you know, that is a whole different ball game. But because you're sick doesn't mean that you should eat bad. If you're a naturally sickly person, it means that you should actually compensate and try to eat better to try to balance out your body weakness and the genetic factor. You know, the more, and we eat so many empty calories that we don't even know what it feels like probably to be normal, to feel fully nourished when it comes to vitamins and minerals. They're so important in the body, so that's why I just want to go over each individual one and give you guys the knowledge that you need or that you can implement in your daily lives. Like I said, just like in the produce section, going to certain colors, trying to regain control of a weakness of your body by nourishing it with nutrition. I work with the public, so I give a lot of unsolicited nutrition advice, but just talking to people and seeing the lack of knowledge, like the doctors aren't going to lead you on the nutrition route. That's just, it is what it is, because their money is made in the medical field, so they don't really, I mean, I think your doctor really does want you to be healthy overall, but if you could say you're an oncology doctor, a cancer doctor, and you could cure cancer tomorrow, would you do it? That would totally put you out of a job the next day, and you would have no, say, benefit financially from the cure. I know you would, but just say, like, would you do it? Like, I don't know. Our livelihoods are important to us specifically because that's how we put food on our table and stuff, but I get it to a certain extent, but at what extent? To the detriment of the health of all people? Like, we have to just do better. That's why having the information is so important, because if you don't have the information, you'll never know that you were lacking it potentially. You know, we're quick to just believe what's out there, but we need to really recalibrate, reassess, and listen to our bodies and our own instincts, because a lot of things that we're doing that corporate America sells to us is just not good for our bodies, but we don't have any other options all the time, or we're just so used to eating all of this processed stuff that we don't even understand what it feels like to feel nourished. So, and I always say, don't go and do like a full 360 and think that everything's going to change. It's about small calculated steps, like stepping back, and instead of being your own worst enemy in your head, being like, oh, you know, just eat another snack and forget about it, and wake up the next day and be like, why didn't the scale move? It's like, well, maybe because you had 3 snacks last night. You know, like, we have to be real, we have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to address the issue at hand. We'll try to identify the issue, then address the issue. We're gonna assess, diagnose, then we want to intervene. You want to try to fix the problem, so that's where this information will come in. And then you want to monitor, see if you're seeing any changes. Sometimes, you know, you want to make the change for at least 30 days to see if any benefits are coming from the change, and if so, great. You know, if not, then reassess and go from there. That's all we can really do, is kind of trial and error, but you want it to be, like I said, small things that you can actually do. That's why fad diets don't work. Yeah, you might be able to drop some weight initially, but if you can't maintain that diet forever, then what's the point? It's really about a lifestyle change. And a lot of people just don't want to come to terms with that, but there's no easy out unless you get on medication, which that is a whole nother ball game of man-made chemicals and what are the pros versus the cons, the long-term effects. I'm not gonna lie, I think Ozempic is a good drug depending on the patient. It shouldn't be given to someone who's already fairly thin, but if you're pre-diabetic and then this stuff can make you drop the weight to not be diabetic, I say go for it. Like, depending on the circumstances, you always want to do your research and look it up yourself. And even, like, one of my customers has a disease, and her symptoms just weren't like lining up for me. I was like, something doesn't seem right here. Well, she said that she got into a Facebook group with other people with the same disease, and that's really where you'll get the good information from. People that are going through it, people that have already done the research, people that can compare symptoms, can compare medicine, compare the symptoms of the medicine. Like, there's so many layers to these things, and the information that's out there is not always correct. So getting it directly from the source is the bee's knees, the best way to go in that aspect. But yeah, that's why, like I said, nutrition, it's really a lot more simple than we give it credit for. Input versus output. If you're putting more calories into your body than you're burning in a day, then you're going to gain weight. If you're eating less calories than you burn in a day, eventually you're going to lose weight. If you're eating the exact same amount, then you're going to maintain. So once you do gain or lose the weight that you're trying to do, then after that, then once you know your calorie intake, you just eat that amount every day and you'll stay the same weight. That's pretty much how it works. It's really that simple, even though it can be very complicated. But just stick with me throughout this. If you haven't checked out my lives on carbohydrates, protein, and fat, I feel like I really covered all the basics in those areas and kind of just put it into real life terms and made it understandable for just, anyone who doesn't know a whole lot about science or nutrition. And then now we've covered vitamin A. We're just going to cover all the vitamins and minerals along the way. And then you might, just listening to me, realize like, oh my God, this is my issue and I can fix it, and this is how. So knowledge is power. Always stay educated. Always keep your eyes open. You want to keep your mind open as well. Don't always just follow the lead. It's like, do your own research and see if you can compare and contrast information. It's all about doing the research and trying to figure out where your diet's lacking, what things you can do to improve it. Good, like, healthy snack substitutes. Having a good alternative is probably your best factor. Like, say if you are eating 3 bad snacks a night, then cutting out all of your snacks, it's not going to work. Eventually you're going to crack. But what you can do is, say, reduce it down to 2 snacks a night, and for one, try to find a healthier alternative. Weight Watchers has a bunch of good recipes. My mom actually just made a chocolate cake. You can get the chocolate cake mix. Then instead of adding all of like the butter and milk and all that, which adds, a bunch of calories, you add, if it's a chocolate cake, you add like a brown drink, like Coke or Dr. Pepper. It's going to be a Diet Coke or a Diet Dr. Pepper or a Dr. Pepper Zero. You just add that to the cake mix and bake it like you would a regular cake. It will look a little different. It won't rise because the eggs is what makes it rise. So they do have alternatives if you like cake. Follow that Weight Watcher recipe. I'm sure you can find it online. But like for a yellow cake, for instance, if you're not doing chocolate, you can do the yellow cake and you'll use like a Diet Sprite. You'll just mix the cake mix with the Diet Sprite and then cook it like you regularly would. Just bake the cake. Like I said, it will be more like a brownie. It won't be quite as risen, but when I tell you these cakes are delicious and moist, and it's just an alternative solution. So there are things that you can do. Like I said, Weight Watchers has a lot of good sweet recipes. They even have these homemade ice cream sandwiches, and you can use like a chocolate graham cracker and Cool Whip, and you just make them into little sandwiches and you put them in your fridge. And I forget, I think they're under 100 calories per ice cream sandwich. So it's really not about depriving yourself of anything. It's about making a better decision. You don't want to just eliminate, like I said, all of the snacks, because you won't find success in that realm. You want to try to find healthy alternatives, to dial it back slowly but surely, and just identify the problems and try to correct them. We are in control of our nutrition. I always felt like a victim to my eating habits, but one day I was like, no, you're not a victim, because you're putting the food into your mouth. You know, like, you can't play this victim role, because that gives our brain an out, you know, to be like, oh, poor me. It's really about being accountable, paying attention to what you're putting in your body, and trying to make the best decision for yourself, because you want the longevity of your body. When we're young and you're 18, the last thing you're worried about is keeping your body healthy. But if you do, the earlier that you try to get healthy, the better maintained your machine is. So, like I said, small changes are the way to success. The all or nothing method will absolutely be unsuccessful. So that's the best advice that I can give you guys, is to get educated, to understand what everything does in the body. So just for instance, we just went over vitamin A and all the things that it does in the body. Okay, yeah, it's such a like small, you know, little chemical structure, but what are all these chemicals doing in our body? You know, it's like they act like, oh no, everything's fine, it just does this. It's like, that's what you think it does. Like, we still haven't completely mastered the vitamins and minerals, so we don't know what all these chemicals do. They just want us to feel like they're safe, you know, or just don't ask questions. But no, we have questions now. We have lots of questions, and we deserve answers. You know, like I said, their livelihood is based off of our consumption. So the best way to try to get them to listen to us is to stop buying their products. Like, if you don't think it's good for you or it's not serving you, then stop putting food on their table while they sit there knowing that they're poisoning us and not doing a thing about it. We should demand accountability. We deserve accountability. We deserve clean food. I mean, it's like, that is a basic standard of life, is clean food. Like, we don't want to pump all these chemicals into our body. A lot of us not even knowing, you know, before 2020, people didn't even care or, you know, question it. But now that we're aware, we need to demand a better product, or just stop buying it and put them out of business, and let them know, like, the reason why you're out of business is because you didn't listen to what the consumer wanted. I don't know, back in the 90s, like, everything was consumer driven. It wasn't profit driven. It was like, what does the consumer want? There was still competition. That's why competition is so important. Like, people are like, oh, Amazon, yeah, it's great. It's like, well, Amazon's prices have gone up significantly since they've almost become a monopoly online. And that's what happens when there's not any competition. Then everything is like, okay, they don't have an option. They don't have an option. So let's just sell it to them anyway. And we don't have competition, so they don't have to provide a better product, and you're just stuck with it. But we're not, you know, it's like, first of all, we don't need all of these chemicals, and what happens is these chemicals eventually make us sick from excessive exposure and repeated exposure, and then they profit off of the medications that they sell you. When I tell you that corporate America is so bad that even if they knew something was making you sick, they wouldn't stop selling it. They would go invest in a medication to sell you after you get sick. So, like, people that do business like that, I don't like people that move like that, and we should stand our ground as a whole, because that's the only way that we'll have power. And then when you're looking at products and you're trying to look for like a better brand, or just more wholesome brand, more locally sourced, because high production comes potential problems, you know, like cross-contamination and stuff like that. Always look on the outskirts of the aisle. Like on the toothpaste aisle, you're going to find the non-fluorinated toothpaste on the very outskirts of the aisle. on the tampon aisle. You're going to find organic tampons on the outside of the aisle more than likely. So always just like we're automatically honed to the center of a product section. But just keep your eyes peeled and try to find smaller companies. Smaller companies still care and aren't completely just profit driven. So just a little rule of thumb. I thank you guys for listening to me. I'm going to be back soon with other vitamins and minerals that we're going to cover. So hopefully we can identify any weaknesses in your intake and assess it from there. And then I don't know if you're all familiar with me, but I do make hula hoops. So if you're looking to really have a double whammy and really gain control of your weight and your body, we do offer hula hoops in adult sizes, and having that hula hoop at home makes it so easy to just pick it up and make a good decision. I've been picking up my hula hoop instead of a snack at night, and it makes it so much easier. It gets your brain out of that loop like, oh, poor me, I'm hungry, victim. It's like, no, go distract yourself, go do something productive. So it's just an option. It's a low impact and totally customizable workout. I do have some workouts on my page as well, so if you're interested in that, it's an acquired skill for sure. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it comes with a lot of reward and no side effects. So if you're interested, just go check out my website. I have it linked in my profile, and then you can find me at www.idreamofhoops.com.co. And if you have any questions on sizing, I'll be happy to answer.